Hello, my name is Xavier Walker, and I'll be presenting my informative speech for oral communications. Pass or fail. It's testing time again, and we are expected to come to school early, eat a good breakfast, and get a good night's sleep. Why do we take these assessments every year? Who creates them, and what purpose do they serve? Schools all over the nation for decades have been subjecting students and schools to standardized testing. The question at hand is, are these tests just numbers, or do they have a meaning and play a vital role in the educational system? And are they a good way to determine a school's competency? The amount of pressure that these tests place on schools and students is immense. And in order to come into a sound conclusion, we must first understand what to look for in these tests, what they are, and how often they are given. Standardized tests have been a part of American education since the mid 1800s. After 2001, the No Child Left Behind Act mandated annual testing in all 50 states. Failures in the educational system have been blamed on rising poverty levels, teacher quality, tenure policies, and increasingly on the pervasive use of standardized testing. Some people argue that standardized tests are a fair and objective measure of a student's ability. They argue that they ensure teachers and schools are held accountable. Others argue that the tests are neither fair nor objective. They say that their use promotes a narrow curriculum and drill-like teaching from test to test, and that the excessive testing undermines America's ability to produce innovators and critical thinkers. Standardized tests have been known to be used for a vast number of reasons. They can be used to evaluate a student's understanding and knowledge for a particular area. They can be used to evaluate admissions potential for a student in grad school or college. They can be used to assess language and technical skill proficiency. Standardized assessments have been known to be used to determine psychological services, and they are even used to evaluate aptitude for a career in the armed forces. So, what makes a standardized test standardized? Well, a test is standardized or considered standardized if it is administered to students under the same conditions. One, the same test with the same task. Two, the same time limits. And three, with the same directions. If any of these conditions change, it is no longer considered standardized, and the results are less precise, and score interpretations are considered less certain. When it comes to understanding standardized test scores, most standardized tests are scored in a percentile score. And in this score, there is considered no passing or failing. The percentile score indicates the percentage of students who scored above or below the percentile score of the individual student. So, what are some appropriate uses for the standardized test results? Standardized tests can be used to identify overall level of academic performance as well as specific areas of strengths or weaknesses. They can also help to identify gaps in learning which can be addressed by targeted instructions. Comparing a student's current and past standardized test results with classroom performance allows teachers and parents to track growth over time. Standardized test results may contribute important information for designing and implementing learning interventions for or lead to additional evaluation to identify conditions which interfere with learning. Keep in mind what the test measures. Not all concepts learned in school are assessed on a standardized test. It may also assess some things learned outside of the school setting. Standardized tests represents only a part of what there is to know about a student's achievement and ability. Standardized tests tell us how well a student performed, but not why the student performed as well as he or she did. A student score should be thought of as representing a range of performance that will vary within an expected range from one test administration to another. Many out of school factors can impact standardized test results both positively and negatively. Low scores are more likely to be chance scores, while high scores are less likely due to chance. Low scores indicate that the students perform below average, but that does not indicate whether the student can or cannot perform at a higher level. It is not appropriate to draw conclusions or make decisions based on a single test administration. If a student is achieving his or her potential, the standardized test scores and classroom performance should reflect each other. To justify, admit it or not, we always choose a school that's competent enough to give us the quality education we want and need. We first look at the passing rate in exams of their students because we believe that is a good indication of a school's competency. If a school is not competent, how could they produce such a high rate of licensed professionals? In my opinion, these tests are beneficial, but to a certain extent. They should be aimed more towards how the schools measure up rather than how the students are progressing. As long as we know the schools are doing their jobs, everything else theoretically should fall into place. Thank you.